February 1944. A blizzard erases everything. Visibility no more than 5 meters. Temperature -15. On the outskirts of the village, in the basement of a destroyed mill, the remnants of a Soviet reconnaissance group are trapped. More precisely, one man. Outside, 20 soldiers from the SS Viking Division. Elite. Experienced. Hardened by the Eastern Front. They do not shoot. They do not throw grenades. They simply stand in a semicircle around the only exit, weapons ready. But no one dares to step forward. German officers watch through binoculars an unusual scene. 20 armed S soldiers, veterans of the front, frozen in front of a single Russian. They hear his breathing. They know he has no ammunition. The drum is empty. No grenades. Yet do not enter. 10 minutes earlier, Unterscharführer Klaus tried to rush in first and was thrown back out. He was not shot. There were no bullet wounds on his body. He was alive, but he could not move. The tendons in his arms and legs had been severed with surgical precision. He could not hold a weapon. He could not walk. The Germans wait. The man inside will tire, freeze, break. They do not know one thing. The man inside does not feel the cold. He does not feel fear. He is calculating. In the darkness, pressed against the icy stone wall, stands Senior Sergeant Sergei Alexeyevich Kraev. 32 years old. Call sign, Doctor. To understand why 20 SS soldiers fear one unarmed man, you must return to his civilian life. He was not a professional soldier. Not an athlete. Not a circus performer. He was born in Sverdlovsk. His father, Alexey Petrovich, was a surgeon in a city hospital. His mother, Anna Ivanovna, was a pianist. Viktor was supposed to become a doctor. He entered medical school, studied brilliantly, knew human anatomy better than his own fingers. Every ligament, every nerve node, every point where muscles attached to bone, but he never became a surgeon. In 1937, his father was arrested as the son of an enemy of the people. Viktor was expelled in his 3rd year. The path to medicine was closed forever. To survive and support his mother, he went where no one asked questions. The Sverdlovsk meat processing plant. The deboning workshop. The work was hard, dirty, exhausting, but it was there that Kraev found a use for his knowledge. Now was the anatomy of animals. The quota. 2 tons of meat per shift. Dozens of carcasses. You had to separate meat from bone quickly, cleanly, without unnecessary movements. 1 wrong move, the knife dulls on bone. 2, you fail the plan. 3, you cut yourself. Kraev, with both hands. A violation of safety rules, but the foreman looked the other way. Because Kraev produced the output of 3 men. In his right hand, a heavy knife for rough work. In his left, a short, narrow blade for tendons. 6 years. From 137 to 1943, he stood at the conveyor belt. Every day, 10 hours, thousands of movements, millions of repetitions. He learned to feel the structure of flesh through the blade. He did not look at his hands. His eyes could stare at the wall, talk to a coworker, while his hands worked on their own. The right hand chopped. The left hand cut. Synchronously, rhythmically, like playing the piano, only instead of keys, joints, and tendons. On June 22, 1941, he went to the draft office. They did not take him immediately. He was reserved for the meat plant. He reached the front only in 1942, as infantry. But commanders quickly noticed something strange about Senior Sergeant Kraev. He could move silently. He could wait for hours. And most importantly, in close combat, he did not fight. He worked. He was transferred to regimental reconnaissance. But the problem of fighting a group alone remained unsolved. German hand-to-hand combat manuals stated plainly, if you are alone against a group, you are dead. The mathematics of combat is ruthless. Average human reaction time, 0.2 seconds. A knife or bayonet strike, 0.1 seconds. If two enemies attack you, your brain cannot process both threats at once. You block one, the second hits your side. You evade the second, the first strikes your back. Before Krev, many tried to prove that man is stronger than mathematics, and many died. In October 1943, a reconnaissance group was ambushed near Gomel. Covering the retreat was Private Nikolai Valuev, a boxing champion, 23 years old, huge, strong. Out of ammunition, 3 Germans advanced on him. He was faster, stronger. He knocked out the first with a punch to the jaw. But while his hand returned to guard, the second hit his knee with a rifle butt, and the third stabbed him with a bayonet in the shoulder. Valuev died in 4 seconds. A boxing reflex was too slow for group combat. In November 1943, in Belarus, Lieutenant Sergei Gromov was killed, an officer who practiced fencing. He stood alone against 4 enemies. He fought brilliantly, parried attacks, kept distance. But the Germans simply surrounded him. Fencing is a duel, a linear fight. When the 4th enemy came from behind, Gromov did not even have time to turn. A knife to the neck. And the human eye sees 120 degrees. Behind you, a dead zone. 240 degrees of blindness. Krev saw these deaths. He analyzed them. He remembered the meat plant. Why could he work on a rotating carcass with 2 knives and never cut himself? Because he did not fight. He understood biomechanics. But a carcass does not resist. Does. For half a year, one question haunted him. Could the skill of deboning be applied to a living, armed, moving opponent? Could one create a zone around oneself that no one could enter? There was no answer. Until that night, in 1944. That day the group received an order to capture a tongue from the SS division headquarters. They moved silently. They captured a communications officer. But on the way back they were discovered. A chase began. The group split up. Krev led the pursuit away from his comrades, giving them time to escape with the prisoner. He fired until the last cartridge ran into the old mill and ended up here. Alone. An empty PPS lay in the corner. 2 knives in his boots. One, a standard scout knife with a black handle. The second, a captured German dagger with a narrow double-edged blade. 2 knives, different weight, different balance, different length. Any hand-to-hand combat instructor would say, this is suicide. Different balance will destroy coordination. Your brain will get confused. You will lose. Krev closed his eyes. He inhaled the frozen air of the basement, smelling of mold and old flour. His mind switched into the workshop mode. The noise outside faded. The crunch of snow. The Germans were discussing something, probably deciding to take him alive. A Russian scout, trapped in a corner, could be interrogated. Krev slowly drew the knives. In his right hand, the heavy knife. A direct grip. Blade upward. This was a hammer. This was power. This was a strike that could pierce a winter coat. In his left hand, the German dagger. And here he did something that would make any military professional think he was insane. He took the dagger in a reverse grip. But not just reverse. He threaded the handle between his middle and ring fingers, clenching it so that the blade emerged from the center of his palm, parallel to his forearm. In the criminal world, this grip was called the sewing machine or the embed. But Krev was not a criminal. He had invented it at the meat plant, when it was necessary to cut tendons inside a joint without twisting the wrist. This grip allowed not to strike, but to cut while defending. Any hand tried to grab his left arm would run into the blade itself. 2 knives, direct grip on the right. A strange hybrid reverse grip on the left. Asymmetry. Krev stepped into the center of the basement. He did not hide behind pillars. He stepped into the open space where light fell from the doorway. He waited. Outside came a sharp command. Los! Vorwärts, nehmen. 3 shadows rushed into the doorway at once. They interfered with each other in the narrow passage, but they were many. They were confident. Rifle butts. Knives. Krayev did not move. The first German, a tall corporal, lunged forward, raising his rifle butt to strike his head. A standard technique: knock down, stun, restrain. Distance: 2 meters, 1.5. Time: to down. For Krayev, the corporal ceased to be a person. He became a scheme. Shoulder joint, tension point. Open neck, hip, support point. Krayev stepped forward, not backward, not sideways. The blow. His left hand slid upward. Not a strike, just a movement, like brushing off dust. The blade met the German's forearm. The German himself, by the inertia of his attack, impaled his arm on Krayev's knife. The flexor tendons of his fingers were severed instantly. The rifle fell. In the same fraction of a second, Krayev's right hand made a short upward strike, exactly into the popliteal hollow. The German collapsed, without a scream. He simply could no longer stand. Krayev stepped over him. The second German hesitated, but inertia pushed him forward. He tried to stab with a bayonet. Krayev did not block the bayonet. Blocking a bayonet with a knife is a gamble. He spun around his axis. The bayonet passed a centimeter from his stomach. His left hand described an arc. The blade cut across the outer thigh. A deep cut, the quadriceps. His right hand struck not with the blade, but with the heavy pommel of the knife, straight to the temple. The second German fell onto the first. 2 seconds. 2 opponents on the ground. Alive, but no longer fighters. The third German stopped. He saw what had happened, but his brain could not process it. He stepped back, stumbled, fell out into the snow, at the feet of his officers. Silence returned to the basement. At that moment the Germans understood. In the darkness there was not just a trapped soldier. There was something else. Outside, anxious voices sounded. What is this? He has knives. 2 knives. Krayev stood over the bodies. He did not finish them off. He did not need to. Pulse, normal, hands steady. He looked at the knives. Almost blood. Clean work. But he understood. This was only reconnaissance by fire. Now they would come seriously. 20 men. -2, 18. 2 can pass through the doorway. It's 9 waves. Or a crowd. If they rushed en masse, no technique would save him. He would be crushed by weight. He needed to make them afraid to approach even in tens. To turn the space around him into a meat grinder. He remembered another lesson from the meat plant. The kill zone. The debunner's space is a circle. Everything that enters this circle must be processed. Krayev walked to the wall, grabbed a handful of brick dust and rubble, scattered it on the floor around him. He saw a circle. A psychological trick. For himself. No one would cross this line intact. He changed his grip. Now both knives in reverse grip. Outward. The rider's stance. Feet wide apart, knees bent. Center of gravity low. This was not an army stance. This was a stance of stability. Whistle. They'd decided. A smoke grenade flew into the doorway. Not a grenade. They wanted to take him alive, or feared collapsing the mill. Thick smoke filled the basement. Masks, shouted an officer. The SS soldiers put on gas masks. It was their mistake. A gas mask narrows the field of vision. You see only what is directly in front of you. There is no peripheral vision. Krayev smiled. Now the conditions were equal. The smoke hid him. The gas masks blinded them. 4 soldiers rushed in. They advanced in a wall, shoulder to shoulder, holding rifles like clubs. Krav was not there. The moment the first boot touched the floor, Krav fell. Not crouched. He rolled to the left, under their feet. Near the floor, there was less smoke. He saw only legs. 8 legs in heavy boots. This was his element. His left knife cut the tendon above the heel of the outermost German. The Achilles tendon, the strongest in the human body. If it is cut, a man cannot stand. The German collapsed. The formation broke. The neighbors stumbled. Krav jumped up behind their backs. Now he was in their dead zone. 4 Germans turned their heads. One lay on the floor, howling, trying to stand. Krav approached the rightmost one. He struck with the pommels of both knives, simultaneously at the ears through the rubber of the gas mask. A hydraulic hit. The air inside the mask compressed instantly. The eardrums burst. The German lost orientation. He began to fall. 2 fighters remained. And then Krav used the technique that later entered classified GRU manuals as Krav's mill. He began to rotate the knives in front of him, drawing figure 8s. The blades whistled through the smoke. He advanced on them. The Germans opened fire. Burst from the hip. Bullets knocked out brick chips, whistled near his face. Krav, the distance. A step to the left. His right knife, the rifle strap. A jerk. A count knee strike. A cut to the elbow bend. The arm hung uselessly. The last of the 4, a huge man, tried to kick Krav in the stomach. A mistake. Raising your leg in close combat means losing balance. Krav caught his leg. With his right hand he struck the boot of the supporting leg. The German slipped and crashed onto his back. The smoke began to clear. The remaining Germans froze in the doorway. 5 of their comrades lay on the floor. They moved, groaned, tried to stand, but could not. There was little blood, but their combat capability was completely destroyed. And in the middle of this pile of bodies stood the Russian scout, knives in both hands. He was calm. He looked straight at the officer. Hauptsturmführer Müller slowly lowered his pistol. He had marched across all of Europe, but he had never seen such cold, rational destruction of his soldiers' fighting ability. "Back!" he shouted. The Germans retreated. Krav remained the master of the basement. For now, he knew this the beginning.